in big coats and top boots, with stockwhips in their hands. Behind the counter, a big girl with red hair pulled the beer handles and cheeked the men. Old Underwood sneaked to one side like a cat. Nobody looked at him. Only the men looked at each other. One or two of them nudged. The girl nodded and winked at the fellow she was serving. He took some money out of his knotted handkerchief and slipped it on the counter. His hand shook. He didn't speak. The girl took no notice. She served everybody, went on with her talk, and then, as if by accident, shoved a mug towards him. A great big jar of red pink stood on the bar counter. Old Underwood stared at them as he drank and frowned at them. Red, 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 beat the hammer. It was very warm in the bar, and quiet as a pond except for the talk and the girl. She kept on laughing. Ha ha! That was what the men liked to see, for she threw back her head, and her great breasts lifted and shook to her laughter. In one corner sat a stranger. He pointed at Old Underwood. "Cracked," said one of the men. "When he was a young feller 30 years ago, a man here done in his woman, and he found out and killed her. Got 20 years in the quad up on the hill. Came out cracked." "Who done her in?" asked the man. "Dunno. He dunno. Nobody. He was a sailor till he married her. Cracked." The man spat and smeared the spittle on the floor, shrugging his shoulders. "He's harmless enough." Old Underwood heard. He did not turn, but he shot out an old claw and crushed up the red pinks. You old beast! Oh, you old swine!" screamed the girl, leaning across the counter and banging him with a tin jug. "Get out! Get out! Don't you never come here no more!" Somebody kicked him. He scuttled like a rat. He walked past the Chinaman's shops. The fruit and vegetables were all piled up against the windows. Bits of wooden cases, straw and old newspapers were strewn over the pavement. A woman flounced out of a shop and slushed a pail of slops over his feet. He peered in at the windows, at the Chinamen sitting in little groups on old barrels playing cards. They made him smile. He looked and looked, pressing his face against the glass and sniggering. They sat still with their long pigtails bound round their heads and their faces yellow as lemons. Some of them had knives in their belts, and one old man sat by himself on the floor, plaiting his long crooked toes together. The Chinamen didn't mind Old Underwood. When they saw him, they nodded. He went to the door of a shop and cautiously opened it. In rushed the wind with him, scattering the cards. "Ya, ya, ya, ya!" screamed the Chinaman, and Old Underwood rushed off, the hammer beating quick and hard. "Ya, ya!" He turned a corner out of sight. He thought he heard one of the Chinks after him, and he slipped into a timber yard. There he lay, panting. Close by him, under another stack, there was a heap of yellow shavings. As he watched them, they moved, and a little grey cat unfolded herself and came out, waving her tail. She trod delicately over to Old Underwood and rubbed against his sleeve. The hammer in Old Underwood's heart beat madly. It pounded up into his throat, and then it seemed to half stop and beat very, very faintly. "Kit, Kit, Kit." That was what she used to call the little cat he brought her off the ship. "Kit, Kit, Kit," and stooped down with the saucer in her hands. Oh, my God, my Lord! Old Underwood sat up and took the kitten in his arms and rocked to and fro, crushing it against his face. It was warm and soft, and it mewed faintly. He buried his eyes in its fur. My God! My Lord! He tucked the little cat in his coat and stole out of the woodyard and slouched down towards the wharfs. As he came near the sea, Old Underwood's nostrils expanded. The mad wind smelled of tar and rope.